Hello, friends. I hope everyone had a beautiful Diwali celebration this year. In my one of my previous posts, I posted about using a little less of candles and incense sticks and firecrackers and other things that can add to air pollution during Diwali time in India or even any other country where Diwali is celebrated. Because one of the topics that I have realized in the last few years of my life that has been impacting my health has been related to different kinds of earth pollution. That's why I posted that video before Diwali time. And if we are able to do it, then it's great. If we are not able to do it, then it's great as well. But at least if you have the awareness, hopefully over time, people can learn to slowly taper down the usage of things that are not beneficial to their health. I don't know if I posted this aspect in my videos, um, but I thought maybe I should talk about it a little bit more again because of the topic that I'm going to talk about today. So I wasn't um, raised in a way where I was very religious or people were very religious in my family. Even though my mom was very religious, my grandmother was very religious from my mom's side, and my dad's side grandmother, even though she wasn't religious, she would pray twice a day by burning incense sticks and a lamp in the morning and night. And both my grandmothers prayed in the morning time as well as night time. My other grandmother used to spend like 3 hours in her puja room praying in the morning and 2 hours in the night every day of the life that I saw. Um, so, and my mother also used to like pray at least like 1 hour or half an hour in a day every day. So I have seen people do prayers, but because of the way my dad was and because of my own nature, I never gravitated towards taking up prayer in my life as a daily ritualistic practice. So I never really ever prayed to God daily like how my mom or grandmothers used to do. And in fact, none of them will also bother to teach me anything about praying, except that one of my grandmothers just taught, like in the evenings, you should light a lamp in the evening time. It will be a good thing to do. Or just this is how I pray, like, and her way of praying. She didn't teach me any mantras or anything because we were Hindus, but we weren't like the Brahmins or anything. So learning the prayers or mantras wasn't also really an important aspect of doing prayers. All I know is my grandmother, my other grandmother also one time told me, do these rituals while you are in my puja room, clean the idols like this, pour water like this. But even though I did it, I didn't do it maybe in the right ways, or I wasn't there long time in the vacations. So I never picked it up from any of them doing any kind of pujas. And then when my mother actually passed away when I was only 20, so even in the 20s, when girls are usually possibly learning a little bit more about traditions, at the time my mom passed away, so I didn't get to pick up these traditions from her. And then after she passed away, after I graduated from college, I went to US. So even in US, I never learned all these traditions as well, and I never really regretted not learning it because the way I was raised. My dad was very against prayers and ritualistic things because some of the things related to ritualistic practices impacted the life of my of the men in the family and in my mother's side of the family. So, because it impacted their lives in a manner in which they felt victimized about prayers, they felt like the women are spending too much time in praying and not focusing on home activities or childcare activities, which was absolutely true. The way both my grandmother and my mother did prayers impacted some of the functionality of a traditional family's life, and for which my grandfather and my dad, both of them, had to compensate and do certain things. And while my Nana ji did these happily and joyfully, and he actually took over some of the kitchen activities while his wife was praying in the morning. He was the one who would make breakfast or organize the breakfast because he had a cook in his home. So he took over part of the activity of deciding what was to be done for breakfast while the cook would do the breakfast. Then as the children grew up, and when the cook was not there or was going on a vacation time, at that time we as children also participated in making the breakfast in the morning. So all these things, like basically when the women were busy doing the prayer or other activities, our family taught the kids to do the breakfast for themselves. And same thing happened in my home as well. My mom got really sick in my teenage years, and we ended up picking up the pace and doing our own individual breakfasts, because all of us had different school and college timings and work timings. So each of us would make our own breakfast and go away. Then my mom, because of her health issues, would wake up a little later in the day and do her prayers and then make our lunch and dinner. So one activity that she couldn't end up doing when she got sicker and sicker was that in the morning time she was not able to do the things that she used to be able to do really well when we were younger. So, but the impact of the fact that my mom's health was deteriorating, and why it was deteriorating, because I was a teenager, it didn't strike me at the time. And at that time, I heard everything from my dad's side of the story. And because he was the one who would speak up about what was bothering him. Of course, any human being, unless you know yourself from the inside, you cannot express what is happening to you until you examine yourself. So, because neither of my parents examined themselves, they couldn't speak up about what is going on inside of them in a rational manner, or even when they did express it, they couldn't express it in a manner that was workable for each of them. And because of which, I grew up in a very distorted environment at home in my teenage years. And in amongst all this, praying became a bone of contention between them, even though that was not the major issue. But because praying was a bone of contention between them, what ended up happening was that my mom, neither did she try to teach us anything, nor did we try to learn anything from her. But I had observed while growing up, even though my mom didn't teach me, my grandmother didn't teach me, or like they didn't get involved in teaching me too deeply what praying is about. In some aspects, I had picked up silently some of the practices they were doing when, say, they are in Bengalis, we have Lakshmi Puja. During Lakshmi Puja time, what was the tradition? During Saraswati Puja time, what was the tradition? That some families do. I picked up a little bit of it. Not that I picked up everything or all the details, because again, if someone teaches you and shows you, like, come sit with me and let's do this together, when parents do that with their children, children pick up things sooner because they're practicing it daily or monthly or yearly with their parent. But if daily, monthly, weekly, yearly, your parent doesn't sit with you and teach you anything, you don't learn it. You just learn from observationally something. And say if there are 10 things that are to be done when you are organizing for a Lakshmi Puja at home, you might not pick up all the 10 things because you never practiced it yourself, or even if you had practiced it, it was only one time. So you might have picked up only like 5 elements instead of all the 10 elements that go into doing it. So this is how I grew up. And then when I went to US, and I started having, because of these fights between parents, I started having a very atheistic attitude towards God. I didn't know whether there was a God. I didn't know whether humans should be praying to a God. I didn't know whether God exists. So my teenage and early 20s self used to not know whether there is a God, used to think rituals and prayers are just something humans do. Like I didn't really. I also saw many of my friends and their moms do prayers. We used to have building Ganpati Puja for a few years in our building. We used to have a colony Ganpati Puja. We used to have Bengali Puja, Durga Puja celebrations. And we had a temple in our colony where, because of one of my teen friends whose grandparents or parents probably taught her that to go to the temple every week, she kept it as a ritual, like at least once or twice a week she will go to the temple. And because she was my best friend back then, because of her, I ended up going to the temple almost like once or twice or even thrice a week because of her during many of my teen years until I went to US. So like at least 7 years of my teen life was spent going regularly to the temple and seeing it from a South Indian's perspective, because she was a South Indian friend. So I learned some South Indian ways of how people go to the temple and do a puja, like, you know, the aarti that they do, or the mantras that sometimes the Veda classes are having. Again, it was an observational experience, and the participatory experience was I would just follow whatever my friend was doing without having any anything where I didn't even know what to pray to God. So I would just go and bow to God, and that's it. For me, going to the temple was an act of accompanying my friend and bowing in front of God. Other than that, I never prayed for like, oh, give me good marks or bless my family or do this, do that. Nothing. Never have I, almost in the years of praying to the universe, have I ever, most of the time, prayed like, do this for someone or do that for someone, I want this, I want that, or bless us or anything like that. I'm just going and bowing in front of God and doing some ritualistic things that people do, like taking the fire agni, or giving phal sometimes, or giving fool sometimes, giving some prasad sometimes, or paying the pandit some money to do the prayer sometimes. And this is how it's been even in US, because in US also the first temple I went to was in the first few years that we lived in Utah. They didn't have any temple in the whole state. Only small temple was there in some South Indian families' home, where people went, and someone took me to celebrate Ganpati Puja in their house during Ganpati time, because that person was also from Mumbai, and I was also from Mumbai, and my roommate was also from Mumbai. So all three of us who were Mumbaikars and who used to love Ganpati Puja and have grown up seeing Ganpati Puja in childhood, and out of the three of us, only one was a Maharashtrian, other two were not originally from Maharashtrian background. But despite that, culturally we all loved Ganpati Puja. So we all went and bowed in front of that person's Ganpati celebration in their home. And eventually, after a few years, there was a Ganpati temple that was constructed in Utah, and we would go and visit the Ganpati temple occasionally. And again, because puja was not an important aspect of my life, and because parental influence about it was also less, I never picked up anything about what it means to pray, or what it means to be connected to God, or what ritualistic things mean in Hinduism. Nothing. So for me, even though I was raised a Hindu, everything was an observational thing about Hinduism and religion. And because, again, of the way that I was raised, and because I was given some freedom because of the way my parents were, I was always, and my own particular nature, I always read a lot of books of different countries and mostly in English. And from these different books, I picked up about different religions. From different TV shows or movies that I used to watch, I picked up about religions. I had some friends of different religion, and from them I picked up certain things. But again, majority of my life, I have only lived with Hindus. okay, and other religions only came in between once in a while, occasionally, and gave me a glimpse of their religious aspects based on whatever small interactions I had with their friends. So none of the religions actually were like having a major role in my life in terms of do this, do that, practice this, practice that, or it is like this in our religion, or it is like that in our religion. No, I was just observing and just letting it immerse in the experience of whatever was showing up for me in terms of religious practices. And while doing all that, there was a friend when my mom passed away. A friend's mom had given me some white cotton thing for putting a diya in the and a lamp for putting the diya using that rui and oil. You could make a oil lamp at home. She had given me that before I left for US, and but I hardly ever lit that lamp. Maybe like at least in the first 7-8 years of my life in US, I was really not doing any kind of puja in my life. I was, but even though I'm not praying to God for something, even though I'm not praying to God for finances or money or wealth or love or blessings or good health of family or good health for myself or anything else that a person prays for, it's not that the blessings stopped coming. I went to US as a PhD student with only 500 rupees in my pocket, and despite that, I had and with the hope of getting a I had a scholarship, and based on the scholarship I could live in US. I earned a lot of money. I earned enough money to buy a house in India. I earned enough money to make my life comfortable in US. So God didn't stop sending me blessings just because I was not praying to God. So that's why there are some people who don't understand when there are certain people who say that even if you are an atheist, it doesn't matter if you're an atheist or a believer in any kind of God. Whatever you are, what matters more is how you are as a human being. The blessings or good things that happen to anyone's life can, yes, get amplified if you are trusting in God, believing in God, praying to God. But that doesn't mean that the blessings stop coming if you are an atheist or if you don't believe in God. If there are two human beings and one human being prays to God every day, and there's another human being who doesn't even believe in God and doesn't pray to God, but the human being who prays to God every day and is cruel to the humans in their lives, or plants and animals and humans in their lives, versus the human being who is kind and compassionate to plants and animals and other humans and just doesn't believe in God. In these two cases, the one with the more blessing will always be the atheist, because the atheist is doing things that enhances humanity, that enhances the life of other humans and plants and animals, that respects life. God has given, if you believe in God, or if you want to believe, if you don't believe in God, say use the word universe, because that is the word I like to use. I like to use the word universe or God to describe the power that controls everything and balances everything in the universe. And that power, you can call it as a person, you can view it in the form of a human being, like when people respect Jesus or Buddha or pray to Krishna and Vishnu or Mahadev, whoever one wants to pray to. You can pray to any of these people or believe in any of the religious practices of a prophet. Doesn't matter. Okay, what matters more is in using those practices that you are inclined towards. How do you use the teachings of those religious leaders and prophets and people that you trust in and believe in, and how well you inculcate it in your life, the teachings that you're learning from that religion, is what matters more to the universal power. Okay, and because of this reason only I was talking about Diwali, and why in Diwali time, if you light even like a small spark of a agarbatti for 1 second, it will be as beneficial to the goddess of wealth and abundance, whom usually people are praying to during Diwali time, as it will be if you light like 10 candles or 10 agarbattis, or do like puja for 3-4 days of Diwali. Again, with Diwali also, there are some families and certain Hindu cultures who celebrate Diwali for 5-6 days. There are certain cultures who celebrate it only for 1 day. There are certain cultures who don't celebrate it at all, who aren't Hindus. Again, those who are not Hindus, are they not blessed by the goddess of wealth and abundance? Right, they are also blessed. It doesn't matter if a person from Middle East or a person from America doesn't know who the goddess of wealth is. Are there wealthy people in America and in Dubai and Europe and South America, or are they not existing there even though they don't know who is the goddess of wealth? Right? And it doesn't matter if they pray to Lakshmi or they don't pray to Lakshmi, they are still getting wealth even if they don't pray to Lakshmi or they don't even know who Lakshmi is. Right? So same way, I didn't pray to Lakshmi specifically for a majority of time of my life. Even then, I was blessed with wealth for a long time. But I'll tell you the irony of prayers now. What happened to me after a while of living and praying only occasionally, or just attending puja functions at a temple during some major festival times, and in that also not attending it every year. Out of the first 5-6 years of my life in US, I would only go and attend maybe 1 or 2 festivals because of the work, or because I would just simply forget that there was a festival going on, because there was no one in my family to remind me, like, this is Diwali time, go to the temple, or this is Durga Puja time, go and pray to God, or do this, do that. No one was there to influence that for me. So everything happened organically. If I felt like celebrating Durga Puja and I had friends who were celebrating Durga Puja, I would go and celebrate it. If I forgot about Durga Puja, or my friends, I had friends who knew about Durga Puja but they were busy doing something and they didn't remind me, I forgot to celebrate Durga Puja also once in a while. Okay, so even though I used to love Durga Puja as a kid, I used to love the whole experience of it that I had during my childhood days with my family. Despite all that, it was not important in a way that every year I have to do it, every year I have to celebrate it. It was more like when I have remembered God, or when another person has reminded me of God and doing something godly related to Hindu culture, I have celebrated it. I have a South Indian friend who married a Maharashtrian. Every time I used to go to her house, and we used to like almost meet once a year at least when we used to live in US. And during that time frame of our lives in US, when we have interacted with each other, she would do some pujas at home because of some reason or the other, or she would take me to the temple. I would go with her as well to the temple, and I have celebrated Diwali with her. And even though she's not family, like family, we celebrated Diwali with each other, because Diwali was what? It is a festival where you share some good things and good memory and wealth and abundance with everyone. That is what Diwali's true spirit is. So if you get the spirit of Diwali, to get abundance, you have to distribute abundance everywhere. That is the spirit of abundance. That is the spirit of love as well. That is the spirit of any religion, that you give the love. And that's why they teach you, like, those unfortunate than you, those who don't have money, don't have power, don't have housing, don't have clothes, are in some social distressing conditions. If you have money and have the power and have the wealth and feel blessed about the money that you have, and you use that money effectively, then naturally the goddess of wealth, or even if you don't believe the goddess of wealth, the universe's cyclic power of abundance will bring abundance and wealth and money to you, because you have the capacity to distribute it in with wholeheartedness in anyone that you know, with anyone that you know, and you have the capacity to share it with anyone that you know or love or care for or would love to care for. Right? Because when you're donating, when some religion teaches you, give a part of your money to our religion so that we can do something for the poor, or when some religion teaches you directly go and donate some money to the poor, or someone's parents are teaching you, come, let's go and have some meals with orphanage kids, or go and have food and distribute food at a food shelter or a food bank. I have been in US, I've been in India, I've seen different things that different religions do, and everything is again about respecting the and having gratitude for the blessings you have in your life. And when you have that gratitude and understand the blessings that you have, how you spread that gratitude and blessings to others, which is what every kind of religion is trying to teach in their different kinds of teachings about redistribution of wealth, right? A concept that in US, sometimes in US politics, people do not understand, or people start forgetting, even though US was created as a way to redistribute wealth. If you look at US history, there has always been thing going on with the US population that keeps changing as more and more people from around the world want to go and live there, or do end up going and living there. It is about a way of redistributing wealth in a very balanced manner, in an organic manner. It's been going on ever since US was created, ever since time immemorial. And it's not just about US, it's true of any country of the world that is accepting of immigrant and floating and mixing of populations. This happened in India too. And how is India similar to US? While in US people aspire to go there and live, in India, in the past, people aspired to come and live in India. And there was some reason for the resources that were there in India, was the reason that kings came and fought for Indian lands, and that led to whichever empires, Hindu empires were there at first in India, and after the Hindu empires, the Muslim empires came, and after the Muslim empire, the Christian empires came, and after the Christian empires, now what is going on? Now the financial control of India is happening, or people are trying to gain the financial control of India. So, maybe I'm getting distracted by the topics here, but what I'm trying to say is India is an amalgamation of different cultures, right? And likewise, US is an amalgamation of different cultures. There are many other European countries which are an amalgamation of different cultures. And globally right now, because globalization has happened, because movements and air travel are so rampant, almost every country of the world right now has a mixed cultural heritage. And that mixed cultural heritage happened because people were meant to learn something from each other. There are people around the world who try to otherize other people, but how much ever you otherize a different culture, like if whites want to fight against the blacks, it's not possible anymore, because right now there is too many people who are not just black or white. There are people in the middle who have black and white ancestors. So you cannot otherize anymore. Same thing with mixed heritage children of different countries, mixed heritage children of different religions, mixed heritage children of different cultures. And likewise, the same thing happened in India as well. Like because I have freckles and all on my face, I'm pretty sure some of my ancestors in my genetics were probably from somewhere in Europe, in those kind of populations where people get freckles when they go out in the sun. Otherwise, I wouldn't have freckles, right? Which is not common for Indians. Most Indians don't get freckles. Most Indians and who are born in tropical regions, they will directly only get a darkened tanned skin when going out in the sun. They won't have these spotted freckles on their nose and cheeks, which is common only in European or Americans. Like until I went to US, I it didn't strike me that these were freckles. Only after going and living there, I realized that it is a freckle. And almost after like 10 years of living there, someone noticed my freckles and said, "Oh, you have such cute freckles," right? Because even Americans saw my freckles, they didn't recognize that it is a freckle because I have a different colored skin. I'm not a typical white person that the freckles would be observable to them, right? So, like that, mixed heritage was happening to everyone in the world. Mixed culture has been happening to everyone in the world for us to learn from each other and for us to learn from any kind of culture, region, religion, or any other aspect of division that humanity usually exists in. And the more we learn to accept another culture and religion or another way of living and not just accept it, the more a country embraces the differences and diversity of the population, usually better and more prosperous such countries become. And the more tight knit and close knit a country becomes, you will usually see the more despotic kind of regimes start happening there, and people stop growing and evolving and learning from each other by holding on to things of the past that may not be necessarily very good for evolutionary growth of that place or country or population. Okay, and that's what brings me back to the topic of using of all these fireworks and things that are done usually in India during festival time. It is not because I am anti-Hindu, or it is not because I do not respect the magic of fire. I love fire. Like, it's been so hard for me to not light a candle or not light an incense stick in the last few years, because though I said I went to the temple regularly for a while, or not so regularly, and occasionally I would go and I would forget about going to the temple during my 20s. What happened was, eventually when I started working, because I was having a very daily ritual of going to work on certain days, what I started doing, which I learned from a friend of mine, was that some days I started burning incense sticks at home. So I wasn't, again, because I had never grown up learning prayers as a ritualistic practice to do daily, my burning of incense sticks would happen only like, say, once a week or once a month. But I was doing it pretty regularly there. And then when I came back to India, I wanted to do, there was a brief period I didn't do it in US because of fire hazard related rules of the place that I was living in. And I realized that those housings were also such that there was a risk of having fire. So I stopped burning incense sticks, and lighting lamps would only happen like for a brief minute, like during Diwali also. If I ever lit a lamp or a candle, I would either light those small tea light candles for a few hours, or during Diwali time, many a times I haven't lit those, and if I have lit a oil lamp, that oil lamp has been lit for like only like a few hours, and or even just a few minutes, so that the fire hazard doesn't happen in the house. So there, because of air pollution laws, fire hazard laws, people don't do these things. But those same people, if they want to come in India, they will again start doing more of fiery things that are allowed here, because the fire hazard related rules aren't as strict over here, right? And neither are air pollution measures being followed very diligently over here, which adds on to the air pollution in India currently, and also impacts our health. So if people want to truly eliminate health related things that are happening due to air pollution in the environment, they have to think more clearly on how to reduce the circumstances that cause the air pollution, right? And now, which brings me to the other aspect of the topic that I want to talk about, which is that sometimes in the last few years, I've listened to a lot of online channeling videos of people who light candles or who sage their tarot card readings. And there's nothing wrong in doing that, because I agree that fire has an immense power of helping us channel energy. And because when I came back to India after living in US for a while, initially I wasn't again praying as much, because in my home where I was living with my dad and my brother, they both had breathing problems with incense sticks. So I would only burn an incense stick like once a year during Diwali or Durga Puja or something. Other than that, I didn't burn any incense sticks at home. But when I went and lived at my own place, I started burning incense sticks for two reasons. One was a practical reason, and one was like I remembered my grandmother teaching me how to light an incense stick in the evening during twilight hours. So I wanted to inculcate that. There was some other reasons as well. And because I was reading and watching these tarot readings where purifying the energy of the house was being suggested by burning sage or bay leaves and things like that, I got influenced by that. And I started burning bay leaves and a little bit of camphor in the evenings for just purifying the air in the rooms and for praying for a few minutes in front of God. And my secondary purpose for burning these bay leaves and camphor and elaichi and everything was because in the evening time there used to be a lot of mosquitoes that used to come in that area inside the house. And I was living in a 3 BHK, and it had like 5 balconies. So from each of those balconies there was a source from which, if windows were open, these mosquitoes would come. Because of which I decided that if I burn these incense sticks in each of these rooms where the balconies are there, I will not have, so the smoke was such that the mosquitoes wouldn't enter the home. So this is what I started doing. I would burn some camphor and bay leaves, and I would also put some incense sticks in 5-6 rooms, because there were 5 balconies and many other rooms in the house, and I would put anywhere the incense sticks where I felt like the likely source of mosquitoes was coming from. And I did that almost continuously for over a year. Did any wealth and abundance come to me? I wasn't praying for wealth and abundance. What was I praying for when I did this? I was doing a ritual. And I was also not just doing a ritual, I was doing something to connect to the universe. It did help me align energetically with certain things. So the camphor and bay leaves was very beneficial, I felt. But the incense sticks, even though I tried to get sandalwood incense sticks, and I also had the same sensitivity that my brother and my dad have, but my sensitivity level was a little lower than theirs in terms of breathing problems. But my sensitivity was more in terms of getting headaches from artificially scented candles and incense sticks. And candles I used to burn during Diwali time. So from what happened during this 1 year, I did this. Then I slowly realized after 1 year of doing this that these incense sticks qualities had changed, and they were starting to give me headaches. Then much later I started realizing they were starting to suffocate me, because I bought a different brand of incense sticks, and these incense stick brands had such high level of chemicals in them that were not good for our health. So all of these slowly started adding up over time. It is not that on the first day when I was using incense sticks my health got bad. It is not on the first day of using 5 incense sticks that my health got bad. It is not on the instance of over a year of using incense sticks that my health got bad. But after a year or two of doing it, my health started deteriorating, because my body had not been used to inhaling these chemicals for a long time. If I was from childhood, if I had been exposed to this, then my health would have probably tolerated these. But because for almost 30 plus years of my life I hadn't inhaled any of these things, my lungs couldn't take it. And suddenly after 30 plus years, I am exposing it to so much of incense sticks, my lungs couldn't take it. And it is the same thing that happens to mosquitoes. That's why mosquitoes don't want to come inside the house, right? But and why was I doing this burning of incense sticks? Because mosquito repellents were something that was giving me breathing problem and headache, and so I had stopped using mosquito repellents in India. In US you never had to use it because the environment is so much clean. They don't have these puddles of water stagnation happening in US, in the state where I lived. So you don't have mosquitoes there. Something similar can happen in India as well. If people are more mindful of stagnation of water, and if people, make sure that the potholes don't have water stagnation, or if people ensure that homes don't have drains where water is stagnating, or neighborhoods don't have drains where water is stagnating, if we take the rightful kind of measures, the problem of mosquitoes growing in a certain area will reduce. There are other ways to reduce mosquito population by raising, maybe having ponds where, frogs or something can be raised who will eat the mosquitoes in the neighborhood, right? So if you do these kind of things, natural ways are there to prevent mosquitoes from happening. There are some natural plants also that are mosquito repellent. You can use the natural oils and creams from these plants to prevent yourself from getting bitten by mosquitoes. And the other thing about mosquito bites that I have realized in our family, because we are Bengali, we eat a lot of sweets and sugary foods. And I have realized the days I eat more sugary food, my body becomes an attraction zone for these mosquitoes. And on the days I don't eat a lot of sugary food, it doesn't happen. They will bite me less. So mosquitoes are actually in some ways doing humans a favor to show humans that if you do something, if you are eating something wrong, they are more prone to come and bite you. This is how what I have observed observationally. I don't know, even though I am a scientist, I have not gone and researched on this, but I'm sure some data might exist about this. And even if a data doesn't exist, some brilliant scientist and botanist or a zoologist can go and check it out, like what are the conditions that cause mosquitoes to bite humans, what are the conditions that causes plants to repel mosquitoes and things like that, right? And from after starting to get sick from these incense sticks and from these candles, I got so severely sick because I also was praying a lot to God. So even though I was not praying to God for abundance or wealth or anything else like that, I was praying to God for raising my energy. And I was also trying to do some meditation related, energy cleaning and related practices, which ended up making my body clear of some of the diseases it already had from the past, because a breathing related trouble had existed for me even in US due to another different reason. But my body had healed after I came to India, because that reason for its becoming worse had gone away. And then again, because I exposed my lungs again to some toxins, some diseases related to lung infection came back, or lung related problems, respiratory tract related problems came back. And because I was doing energy healing and trying to clean, what was happening when you're doing energy healing and you're cleaning your energy, I was doing aura cleaning, energy healing, all these things, my body is trying to become an empty vessel of all the unclean things that were happening to it. But when you become a neutral, unclean thing has gone away, when you have washed an empty vessel, like say you're taken a brass pot and it was dirty and you cleaned it up and now it's all shiny. Does the brass pot that you made shiny stay shiny continuously, or again will it become dirty and darkened with time? It interacts with the air, it interacts with things in its surroundings, it interacts with materials that are put inside the brass pot, all of which leads to the brass pot to change its color over time. Same thing with our body. If you're doing energy healing, energy cleaning, and you are cleaning your body regularly, internally, from dark thoughts and diseases and everything else that can impact someone's mind, body, and soul, what happens is you become a neutral vessel for anything to take over your body. And now, depending on what thing you are more prone to attract towards yourself, that thing will start getting attracted. And maybe depending on your life lesson and soul path, also, certain things will start getting attracted towards you, which is what is an aspect of ascension, which I'll talk about in the next video.